So just a very quick run through. For those who haven't been here, who's the first time, we've been talking for 2 years already about mental experiences. We've been talking about the 8 consciousnesses, the perceptive consciousness, which includes the eyes consciousness, the ears, the nose, the tongue, and the body consciousness. And then these are the perceptory consciousness through the 5 sensory organs. And then we've been talking about the mano consciousness, which is the cognition consciousness. And then the 7th consciousness, which is the manas consciousness, the ego attachment consciousness. And then now we are talking about the store consciousness, which is the alaya, vijnana consciousness. So there are 8 consciousnesses that we have already covered in a lot of details, maybe more than 60 hours. I don't know how many hours we've been talking about it. And for those who haven't joined us, there's a lot to catch up with. Last time we used an analogy of an ocean compared to alaya consciousness. If the alaya is imagined as a vast ocean, then the 7 other consciousnesses are waves on its surface. All the 7 consciousnesses are not separate from the 8th, which is the alaya consciousness. The alaya consciousness is the store consciousness. It is a repository of all the latent energy that we have. Nor do they disturb the stillness of its depths, as all 8 are essentially one. So we're using an analogy of waves, and the wave, the ocean, is the storage, the store consciousness. You, every individual, have that store consciousness. If I can maybe I use the computer as an analogy, that's your disk drive or your memory, that everything got stored in there. But the alaya consciousness, your disk drive, is very deep and subtle. It arises from moment to moment, together with the functions of the sense faculties and the various cognitive and affective formations constitute one's ongoing existence. We are nothing but the 8 consciousnesses. And why do I have to know all these? Why do I have to know? It sounds like psychologists, right? Why do I have to know all these? If you know all these, then you know your mind, your own mind. If you know your own mind, then you are aware of every thought. If you're aware of every thought, then you can change your thought from the bad thought to a good thought, to a pure thought. And if you can control your own thought in such a way that if you're geared towards the right path, then you are on your way to happiness and sainthood. Why do people commit crimes, sins, or why do they have miseries? Because they can't control their own thought. You are the master of your own thought. So that's the reason why some positive thinkers said that every thought is inconceivable. If you can, whatever you can think, you can achieve it. It's just you're not aware of your own thought. Your thought is not strong enough. So studying all these will make you become aware of your own thought. Practicing meditation will you become more aware of your own thought. Then what do? Then you will stay away from bad deeds and do good deeds. Because you know that bad deeds will lead to bad effects, and based on causality, you will suffer from miseries of bad effects. So we have been talking about this, and we just give you a very, very brief summary of what it is. So it's like a vast ocean of the alaya consciousness in you is a repository of all the latent energy that you have. And next, so a new term usually in Sanskrit is citta. Citta, a pure citta, is without waves. There's no eye, ear, nose consciousness attached to sound, taste, smell, touch, and all that. the pure citta with no waves. It is the liberated mind, unconditioned by defilements. Your mind is liberated. You don't have any defilements that dominate you. You don't have greediness, hatred, jealousy, you name them. All these emotions, you are free from them. Why do we have to study the Buddhist teaching? It's not just to get blessings from Buddha or to be better, to gain everything, to acquire everything. It is to purify your own thought so that you are the master of your own fate, your own life. Remember what we said, put in very simple terms? A thought will lead to what? An action or speech. Action or speech repeatedly done, performed, will becomes your what? Your habits. Habits becomes what? Your personality. Personality becomes what? Your destiny. You mold your own destiny. Can you be more aware of your own thought? Can you make your thought more vigorous and more beneficial, more meritorious so that you lead a happier life? Or a thought of addiction, a thought of greediness, a thought of sensual pleasures, a thought of gambling? Would that lead you? Where would that lead you to? You know it. I don't have to say. Right? Okay. So that's a pure chitta with no waves. And then a defiled chitta. The 8 vijnanas are the activities of the defiled chitta, like waves of the ocean. Alaya vijnana, the 8 consciousness, the general characteristics of its bija. Let's talk about what gets stored in the 8 consciousness, in the repository of your alaya consciousness, your latent consciousness in you. In other words, let's examine your disk drive. What is in your disk drive? Why do we reincarnate carrying that disk drive in every reincarnation? Why do we have to go through the cycle of life and death? What is get stored? What is this bits and bytes and chips in your computer? Do you want to know something about them? These are the bija, the seeds latent in you, or the energy that's latent in you. First one, these are the characteristics. Seeds are energy that are subject to changes, momentarily arising, sustaining, and disintegrating. They are as momentarily as thoughts. In other words, every thought has energy in it. If you're in your mind, you always nurture good, compassionate, meritorious, beneficial seeds in your mind. That's going to be a storage, a repository of what? Of good energy in you. But are you doing that? What are you doing when you get into a website, into YouTube, and you're seeing indecent material? What are you doing? You're building all kinds of non-meritorial energy in your mind. So make sure, watch everything you watch. Do you know what I mean? Know everything you know. Are you beware? Or you're not? You just carry away by it. You just keep on carrying. You think just seeing it will not affect you? Once you click on cancel, then you cancel it. Once you click on the X, then it will be all gone. It's gone on the monitor. But it's registered in your mind, It won't get away. It's registered in your bits and bytes. You think you can get into what do you call that, settings? You can get into delete browsing? No. You cannot delete browsing because it's registered in your memory. Who can delete browsing for you? Nobody else can. Not even Buddha. Not even God. Imagine if God can delete all your bad things, He will have done it already. You don't even have to ask. Why would God allow you to accumulate all kinds of bad thoughts in your mind? God would not do that. If God is all powerful, God would have erased all the bad stuff in you. Not even Buddha. Buddha just told you, don't register those things in your memory because you can't erase them. You can't delete them. Yeah, right. What? You yourself, You can delete it? You mean you have killed someone, you have nurtured that thought, you have done it, you can say, okay, I can delete that from my mind? No, the police will get you. Because the causality will still get you that. You cannot escape from causality. In other words, you already have germinated, cultivated that thought of killing, for example, and you carry out your action. You already have committed it. You already have brought that seed, the latent energy, into action. And that action leads you to misery. So the most important is you got to care and mind your thought. Not just be afraid of the result. People are usually afraid of result. I have done this. What kind of result I will have? An average Joe Blow would just worry about what kind of result I have if I beat someone. But the careful, the prudent individual would say, I would avoid getting the cause. I would just give compassion. I would not hate. If I hate, then I would harm. So the saintly people, the people who are more on the saintly path, they would watch the thought and not just worry about the action, the result. The Bodhisattva will always think about the result of an action. The average person, the confused sentient being, would never think about the result. They would just do what they are pleased in their senses, what they are pleased to do. They want to drink, they drink. They want to get intoxication, they do intoxication. They want all kinds of sensual pleasures, they just look and seek for it and then perform it. They don't care about causality. But the Buddha said you have to care. You've got to be careful. Every thought counts. Every registry into the keyboard counts. All right? So seeds are energy that's latent in you. And also seeds and subsequent actions are interdependent. Seeds become thoughts, speeches, and actions. Old seeds are perfuming new seeds simultaneously. Causes become effects, so causes contain the potential effect. In other words, the energy in you, for example, the energy of compassion. You always want to be helpful. You always want to be considerate. You always want to do relief work and charity work. And that kind of energy in you would keep on perfuming you. And once an action of benevolence is performed, that action will perfume more energy in you. So what influences you is always that perfuming, always influencing back you to do good things. So you're going to watch what kind of friends you are mixed with. You mix with the bad guys, you go with them, they perfume you externally. And internally, you also perfume yourself. Next, seeds function like a torrential waterfall incessantly. Old seeds perfume new seeds and become one with new seeds. So it's never-ending torrential waterfall. All this energy that you build up, every thought build up will become energy in you. So how much energy you have stored in your alive consciousness, your repository of storehouse? Billions and billions of bits and bytes. It's immeasurable. The seeds that can store in your computer, not the disk drive. The disk drive is still limited to the boundary of the disk drive. But your disk drive, your mentality, is unlimited. It's stored from ages ago, from many, many lives ago. Whatever you have done in your previous life affect your present life. It happened incessantly. Previous lives, thoughts, and actions affect this life. So what you deserve, what you're going through, is what you have done in the past. Don't blame your dad for not giving you a lot of money. Don't blame your mom. Why, mom? Why do you guys have a divorce and I'm neglected? I was sent to an orphanage, and why? I blame you. I hate you. Nothing to hate about, because you brought that to yourself. You have cultivated that kind of energy that would bring up to what you are today. And some people say, it's not fair. I don't know what I did in my previous life. It's not fair. Think about it. Is it not fair? Who did it in your previous life? It's you. Nobody did it. You yourself did it. You got to be responsible. Nobody else. Don't say it is unfair. Can you say today I hit someone and the next day the police get up, lock the door and say you committed the crime, and say, it's not fair. The person yesterday was not me. Can you say that? I'm Joe Blow. Are you Joe Blow? Yes. You beat up someone and he's now, you got to go to court. And you say, no, the Joe Blow of today is not yesterday's Joe Blow. Can you say that? No. It's the same person. Don't say it's not fair. Anyway, let's go on. Seeds are dependent on causes to arise, sustain, becoming new seeds, and subsequent activities for the development. They're all dependent on causes. So they're cause and effect. Old seeds can become new seeds perfumed by some other seeds will become older seeds, and when conditions ripen, mature, they would be manifested into action and speeches. Next, number 5, seeds do not mix its classification and functional characteristics. Seeds of materiality do not mix up with seeds of mentality. Now that's difficult to comprehend. In other words, seeds of purity. Right now I am meditating, I'm pursuing the saintly path. I'm learning to be a saint. I'm learning to be compassionate. I'm learning to be a Buddha. So that kind of latent energy will not mix with the bad energy. If you say, I learned to be a bad guy, I learned to be a drug, I want to be addicted to drug. If all these seeds can mix, that means the Buddha would become a drug addict, right? A drug addict will become a Buddha. So seeds of purity would not mix with seeds of impurity. In other words, I cultivate seeds of purity, and these seeds will not become impurity. Otherwise, it would be all mixed up. You understand what I mean? Okay, next. Seeds do not mix its moral nature. Seeds of benevolence do not mix with and become seeds of malevolence. The energy that I have cultivated in going to an underdeveloped country with the help of the poor children, for example, this kind of good energy will not mix up with my bad energy that I did wrongly at home. Otherwise, it will all mixed up. The good cause will lead to good effect, and the bad cause will lead to bad effects. Morally, they don't mix up. So, how much moral seeds that you have? How much seeds of compassion? How much energy of compassion that is installed in you? If you cultivate and conjure and accumulate a lot of benevolent energy, you will carry that out. So that's the reason why we say, mind your thought. The action is already manifested from the thought. You mind the origin of it, mind your thought. You purify the water at the origin. If you're trying to purify it at the end, it's too late. So you learn to purify every thought. But learning to purify, you have to be aware of the arising of the thought first. Some people have thought of malevolence arising and they don't even know about it. Some people want to fight. That's a thought of hatred. They don't even know about it. They just fight, they just hit. But for someone who learned the teaching, who is more reserved, who knows his own mind, they say, oh, I got to stand back. This is a thought of malevolence. I should not perform it. Do you see the difference? You always don't let the thought to perpetuate. You don't let that thought, that harmful thought to perpetuate. You stop at the second level. You don't let it go on and on until you perform it, you manifest it into what? Into cruelty, into bad actions. So that How does that help you in understanding meditation? What do you do during your meditation? They will say in every meditation, you have to focus, right? You have to focus on what? On your breath. Why do we use the breath? We have to learn to focus to know the arising of our own thought. 99% of the people do not know that thought arises in them. That's the reason why they yell. That's the reason why they get angry. Greediness, angry, hatred, depression, anxiety, all because you cannot control it. When it arises, you just go with it. You cannot control it. But you have to step back now. Meditation helps us to watch it. To watch it and slowly watch it and let it go, and it will slowly disintegrate. All these mental defilements can be cured by understanding yourself, not from medication, not just taking the medication to suppress it.